Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is my Thrall of Darkness Part 14 LUFENIA. This is going to be Xander's Lost Chapter, and I'm bringing in Garland, Xander, and Zell with the Sephiroth friend unit. And I'll also be using the Diablo summon. Now, with this first wave of bosses, there is nothing for you to, I think, really worry about, because you need to bring in heavy damage dealers and delayers for the second boss that you should not be letting this first boss take a turn. You want to focus on the middle one, on B. And I brought in Garland and Zell because since you need to be consistently delaying, Garland delays with literally everything he does, and Zell's gonna work out great with when I bring in Sephiroth on the second part of the fight, because Zell takes so many turns that with Sephiroth's burst effect up, it's going to be consistent. You're going to be consistently delaying the second boss, which is one of the orb requirements. Now you'll see that with Zell, it's the first time I play him. I won't be playing him perfect, but I'll be using his S2 in the beginning. So if you're wondering why I didn't start off with his S1, because his S1 gives you a free instant turn, or gives you an instant turn. I want to save his S1s for this second boss. Again, specifically when I bring out Sephiroth. The only thing I should have done is I should have used Rude's Call at this time. So if you're going to be running a team similar to this, you want to use Rude from the very beginning, because for those that don't know, Rude's Call is going to raise your party's HP, and the difference between the HP you start with and like right there you'll see their HP drops. There's a gap between their starting HP and the one he brings it up to, and that's more than 20%. In order to activate Diablos or even Odin summons, your HP needs to drop just one time below 80%, that's what kind of happens during that transition. So that's just going to help everybody hit much harder. So these bosses, they're going to start off with the orb at 10. Max is 10 on that LUFENIA orb. So it's a really tight orb. Just got to keep an eye out for it. You're going to have two different requirements in order to increase the orb count. One is to break them, you get a +1, and if you do dark damage, it's also +1. So doing dark and breaking at the same time, you'll go up by 2. That way, you're not just kind of staying or keeping it where it's at. Here, it's a little difficult to keep both bosses' orb count up, because Zell has mostly single target attacks. But Garland helps out with that because most of his attacks, except for his S2, are going to be AoE. Then Xander is obviously here for his Dark Enchant, which he's going to give the party as long as the tower above his head is at 4 stacks. 4 stacks and above, everybody now has Dark Enchant, while he also is imperiling the enemy with Dark. So if once you get them to 79%, 59%, or 29%, they're gonna bring out this red aura in each one of those HP thresholds. But if once you get them to once you get that aura to come up at that 79% mark, as long as you're not letting them attack, it's not gonna go away, and they're not gonna keep re-getting shields. So if you let them attack, so one of the things that they get besides the red aura is going to be another like little yellow aura streaks kind of going around them, and that signifies that they have a brave shield of 40,000 Not a lot, but still, again, no HP damage, brave damage resistance. That's what they're gonna have when they have that shield up, right? And you'll see that by that yellow aura. So once you break that shield, it will come back if you're letting them attack. Aside from not having the shield come back, is if you're letting them attack, you're gonna have to start bringing healers. And here, I literally just brought damage dealers. The heal is coming from my calls, and I think it's important to bring in like Ferris's call, Jack's call, just lowering down their defenses. Here overall, you have so much attack aura, so you'll see here, as long as one of them gets at 79%, which is what A got to, they both now have the red aura, and now they both have the shield. You're going to see that right there. So it's easy to take that shield away. It's not a big issue. I think they should have increased the shield capacity, or how much shield they get, but I mean, I'm not complaining about it. It is what it is. So with Zell, I'm saving a lot of, again, his S1, and I'm going to be bringing in Sephiroth once their orb goes away, because I'm going to be replacing Xander with Sephiroth. Reason being is that once the orb goes away, like right here, I don't need Xander anymore. The only reason I really need Xander is for the Dark Enchant during when the orb is up. So the goal would be to bring out Sephiroth and start delaying the crap out of him with consistent turns from Zell. And the cool thing about Garland is, like, his S1, for example, doesn't delay right away. It delays at the end of the turn. So you're going to delay them once you hit them, and then it's going to delay them, I think, on the last hit of his S1. So you're going to delay them twice, technically, with Garland. Now, since I'm not very familiar with Zell's kit, I'm consistently checking to see how far his turns come up. Here, with his S1, I use his S1 because it's an AoE attack, and then since I broke A, I'm going to get another turn on top of that, and now breaking B is going to bring Xander's turn up, and it's going to allow me to now summon, or to bring out Sephiroth. Then, if I bring out Sephiroth, the enemies are going to attack. I think if they attack here, it's not going to really be an issue. I think it's just Flamethrower. But right there, by using one of Zell's moves that brings up his turn, now it's right behind Xander's. Technically, it's going to be behind Sephiroth. So here is the perfect time to bring out Sephiroth, and you're going to just start going off. So right at that point, you're going to see that Xander was gonna have his turn, and then if I would have summoned Sephiroth, they would have both taken a turn. Now, not a big issue, and I didn't want to summon yet, just in case I did. I needed to save that for later down the road, but it's over. At this point, it's literally, I already won it. There is like no more issue. So you're going to start seeing their turns literally disappear. So here you're going to see that I'm going to go ahead and also go into Garland's Burst, because now I'm going to be able to utilize even more of Sephiroth's burst effect. Every turn during the burst phase is going to delay them, plus the delay that Garland gives them from just all his moves. So you're already seeing, like, from here on out, you're not going to even probably see their turns come up. I focus mostly on A to just try and push it back as far out as I can, because right now at this point, I don't know if A obviously's turn is before or is after B, so I'm just trying to go for A and delaying A as much as possible. Then I'll move over to B later on. But it's over. I mean, at this point, this is a super easy way to defeat these bosses. You could also bring in Aranea instead of, for example, maybe like Garland, or I would say maybe over even Zell. Potentially, I would have to try that out, but you're gonna need some dark elemental units. So another one you could bring in would be, I think, like Leon. You can bring in Vivi. You can bring in Dark Cecil. You can also bring in Golbez. But I think the best one for the stage is most likely gonna be Xander, because he does also have Rebreak with his LD. He has AoE attacks. So now it's time to start using Zell's S1. So now you'll see I get another turn. Now that I have the dual buff on, which just gives him a bunch of, gives him attack and more damage and stuff, then I go into his EX. His EX does not take away the dual buff. So now I can go back in and I could now use either the LD, or I can go ahead and use one of his S1 or S2 attacks. So that's kind of how I played Zell here, is once I use his S1 and then his EX was available, I just go right into it. The thing is that Zell's EX also does bypass defense, so I don't think it's going to matter too much to use his EX. I think when Duel was on, I think that's where I might have made a mistake. It's probably better to have used it when he doesn't have duel, because I don't think duel makes much of a big difference on his EX since it does bypass the defense. But I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if it really matters or if you think it makes a difference when you use his EX while he has duel. But you're gonna see here that this guy is gonna deal so much damage. I really like Zell, to be honest with you. I think he's funner to play than Tifa. Tifa is pretty straightforward, and Zell, his kit is just, there's a lot of things you can do with it. At least somewhat. They all kind of do the same thing, which is a single target attack for the most part. But I don't know, it's just fun to keep trying to think of when he has the dual buff on. If you want to start using his LD, stack it up to use his My Final Heaven LD attack, which for me is, I think it was pretty cool how they designed that. So Sephiroth has no more turns here, and so I'm going to use the S1 or Zell's S1 to get another free turn. Go into into his LD, and I think that at that point that's it. So they are already down so low, and everybody here, Garland's going to be delaying. I can still delay with Xander with his LD. I can still delay with Zell as long as I activate his LD or I use his LD. So that's how easy I think this stage was. So again, you could bring in other people, like for damage dealers or rebreakers. You can bring in Tidus. You can bring in, I think, Noel if you have a Noel. Other good damage dealers is I could have probably even brought in Sephiroth to replace Zell, for example, or even I wouldn't say Garland so much. I think Garland is pretty crucial because of how much delay he has in his kit and his EX auras to the party. But you could also bring in X-Death, Cloud of Darkness. I think would work really good on this stage. Supporters that you could also bring would be you could bring in Setzer as well. So if you're not capping for damage, things like that, you can bring in Setzer. You can bring in Core, Yuna, things like that. And like I said, you could also bring in Aranea. I don't know if I'm going to run this one again. If you guys are having trouble beating or defeating the boss, make sure you subscribe, you do all the good stuff, and let me know who you're using, and I'll try to run it with that team to see if I can complete it. Also, let me know, like, if I see that you don't have a burst or anything, then I'll take the burst off the character. So if you're a subscriber and you want me to try to help you defeat the stage with the team that you have, post it in the comments, let me know who you're using, things like that, and I'll try to see if I could run the same team to try to help you guys out. But it's pretty easy from this point on out. It's really, again, no big deal with this boss. I think it was pretty simple. I think that they should have just maybe been slightly harder, because I feel like there's still, you could replace probably Zell with Tifa, you can replace Zell with Tidus, for example. You could also bring in Aranea. I think it's more of the dealing the dark damage that you need to more worry about as well. That's not as easily replaceable. And here I'm going to summon, but I really didn't need to. I just did it because I had it. But even then, let's say that you ran out of dark enchanters or whatever, you put them in or you have a call for that. I mean, you saw here that I had a lot of my a lot of turns left where I could have then used a Diablo summon in case that I was in trouble. Other than that, there's really nothing else to the fight. Do not let him take a turn. Bring in some dark damage. If possible, some type of friend unit, maybe. Also, that, let's say you don't have Xander, then bring in a friend unit Xander. And then try to bring in maybe somebody like, make sure you have like maybe Aranea. I think Cloud would work pretty good too. Cloud has delay, so now that if you can bring in Xander any kind of way, even if you don't want to pull for him. And then once you defeat one of the bosses, the other boss will get irritated. But because I have so much attack up here with Dark and Peril and Varus's Call and Jack's Call and all that, although they do kind of buff themselves and stuff like that, it's not enough to start where you're going to be dealing, one Brave or 1 HP. So here I did Varus to see if she would end up getting the kill, but she didn't, so it's okay if Xander does the kill. It's his lost chapter, right? But that's it. If you guys end up going through this fight, good luck with the fight. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. Also, let me know in the comment section what you think about this mission and who you used to complete it. Check the links in the description for Opera Omnia websites that give you a bunch of helpful information, and I'll see you on the next one.